Hi there. Welcome to part two of laying the unders. Before we get off, my usual caveat, I'm not a football trader, blah, blah, blah. So with that out of the way, let's just bash on, first of all, with a quick recap of what we've done already. This strategy, you're looking for matches where you think there'll be goals in the second half. And the reason for that is we want the time decay in the under 1.5 goals market to reduce the odds to a sensible level, which generally speaking should happen around about half time or certainly in the early part of the second half. And what we want to do is to lay the under 1.5 goals and then monitor the market. And if there's no goals, those odds will continue to fall. And so once we hit a particular get out point, we activate our stop loss and red up across the field and then just move on to the next match and accept the loss. If there is a goal, however, after our initial lay has been matched, the odds will jump up and we then subsequently move our potential stop loss up to where our entry point is. So again, we then monitor the market, and if there's no further goals, that point will then be reached where we can then scratch the trade completely. If there is a second goal scored, however, that means that the market will be closed. There's been 2 goals scored, and we will then profit the full amount. Now I'm using initial lay odds of 1.5 by way of example. You can obviously vary that. And my initial get out point, my initial stop loss is set at 1.1. So that will mean I'll lose approximately 70-75% of my initial lay stake, or at least my liability, I should say. If, however, we end up with 2 goals within the time window, I'll actually I'll get back twice as much as my liability. So that's the basis of it. However, there will be times when you've identified a match where you think there's goals going to be in the second half, but the goal happens in the first half, or at least before our initial lay is taken. Now, all is not lost there. You can simply switch to the under 2.5 goals market, because essentially you're in the same position. You still need a goal to allow you to scratch the trade, and you still need 2 goals for you to profit from the match. And but the process is essentially exactly the same. We use exactly the same rules. So in the best of Blue Peter traditions, here's one I prepared earlier. So you'll see here we've got the 3 rules for the under 1.5 market, and now I've got 3 rules for the under 2.5 market, all of which are essentially the same. Okay, so if we quickly go over the 1.5, I'm laying at 1.5 with a liability of 50, and I'm doing so as long as there's no goals scored and the lay price is 1.5. But I won't do anything if I've gone more than 10 minutes into the second half. Compare that to the corresponding one in the 2.5 goals market. I'm still laying at 1.5 for a liability of 50. I'm still looking at my lay price of being 1.5. I'm still looking at doing so before 10 minutes into the second half. The only difference here is I need 1 goal to already have been scored before submitting this lay bet. And similarly, the get out points, the red up at 1.1 in both cases, and these scratch the trade at 1.5 in both cases. Now, the reason this is useful, and it's one thing I should flag up to you, if I just open up one of these rules in the editor. I've talked about linking markets before, although it was specific to the horse racing. If you do anything in the Action tab, or indeed the Conditions tab, where you have to identify a selection, usually if you have the default option on, that selection will be taken from whatever market this strategy is assigned to. But by choosing the other option, you can select from all the various related markets for that particular event, in this case, of course, a football match. So by doing that, I can specify that I wish this rule to act upon the over-unders 1.5 market, and similarly, I can do the same down here. This one will operate on the over-unders 2.5 market. And this is useful because it means that I don't need to create separate strategies for each of these. I'm containing them all in the one overall strategy. And the strategy will simply switch between markets depending on the conditions that the strategy detects within the game. So I could theoretically, for example, just take this strategy and assign it to the match odds market. So I can be busy playing around in the match odds market, and in the meantime, the strategy is a way off implementing bets in the corresponding goals market. So that's why, in case you were wondering, that's why I've been using that rather than the default option. Anyway, that's an aside. So you can see from here that this could be further expanded if there's 2 goals in the first half, i.e. there's 2 goals before the initial bet is taken. And theoretically, you could carry that on to the 4.5 market, 5.5 market, although I think you'll hit diminishing returns if you do so. Generally speaking, my own gut feel, keeping in mind my limited football trading skills, my own gut feel, I certainly wouldn't take it over 3.5. To be honest, I don't even think I would go that far and just leave this as it is. So that's a way to expand it and help cover the situation where you will find the match that you selected has a goal in the first half. All is not lost. So have a play around with that. One other thing before I go, that there is another way of doing this, which I'll leave to another video rather than making this video too long. One of the things that you might want to play with or consider are some of the settings. I've been going for a lay price of 1.5. Now that, from what I've seen, won't get hit until maybe 10 minutes or so into the second half. Obviously, if you increase that, you will find that your lay bet is taken sooner. For example, my initial video I did on the England-Germany game earlier on this week, I think it was 1.7 at half time, and then the first goal was scored just before the 1.5 target was met, and that would have been a good match. That would have been a successful match if I had increased my entry point. So that's something you might want to play with. And related to that, of course, would be your get out point of 1.1. In addition to that, something you may want to consider is the time window in which you want this rule to operate. I've got here, I only want it to submit a bet if we haven't gone more than 10 minutes into the second half. Again, that may limit your entry point, so you may want to play around with that as well. Okay, quite a few things in there, so I'll leave it at that. I'll do a third one because, as I say, there's another way you can implement this type of stop loss mechanism. I'm not saying that it's better than this or indeed worse than this, but I'll implement that in another video and let you make your own judgments. Okay guys, thank you.